So I went off grid and went into this really deep portal recently, and I really feel that this surreal experience is sort of manifesting itself in many ways, and I'm still trying to process it all. But one experience in particular, I got to meet this individual. He was pretty rugged looking. He's an older guy. He was wearing a bandana with a skull and crossbones, and like he looked like a pirate, a real one, with tats and everything. And first impression is, okay, I'm not going to interact with this dude. But spirit was guiding me. And so I ended up sitting down with this gentleman, and after an hour I realized that this was an embodiment of Christ consciousness. This person was actually in my presence to help me understand some very deep questions that I had in my life. And so I was really grateful that I didn't like judge his appearance. I realized that he was my pirate brother, and that entire time I felt so safe, like in my spirit and in everything. I was with God, and it was so graceful. But out of nowhere, somebody else ended up showing up to where we were at, and he was like a regular looking dude. He had his hiking gear on, and he was just like a traveler. And he had noticed that we were in a very like deep conversation, and his ear like tried to get some of the conversation, but he couldn't. So he ended up wandering over to where I was sitting, and I noticed him, and I was kind of watching him in the corner of my eye, and I just automatically was getting uncomfortable. I could feel his energy. And as soon as he sat down, the conversation stopped. And he had this uncomfortable feeling as well, and he was asking about something that he had just heard. And I reluctantly looked at my pirate friend, and he kind of smiled and kind of shook his head, giving me that gesture like, But I ended up asking this new person, this man, well, are you heart-based? If you want to join our conversation, that's the question I have for you. And his reaction to me was, oh, is that some sort of wordplay? I'm confused. What is that? And so again, I glance over at my pirate friend, and he's still shaking his head. What this man didn't know was that prior to his entrance, his intrusion, was a conversation about how light beings are done trying. Our work is no longer to try to get the dark beings to be on our side. The gateways, the portals, the access ways, the stargates, the information has already been given out. We have already made a decision. You've already chose. So there's no longer this dance. We don't have to try. Just like in that moment with me and this ascended pirate being, we just knew that there was no need to have that dance with this dark energy. Didn't even waste our time. The outcome of that was that man who had no idea of what we were speaking of, even though it was rudimentary, he stood up and he left. He knew his role. Just continue what you're here to do. Don't try to change anybody's mind. If they're on the ship, they're on the ship. If they chose the light, then they're choosing the light.